Business owners and entrepreneurs are usually overwhelmed with the day-to-day and may be missing out on opportunities by not looking into the future. We meet Dr. Nilda Perez, a foresight business strategist with useful information to get us to be forward thinkers. And we welcome Vineland's newly elected Councilman David Acosta to discuss his vision for New Jersey's largest city. It's all here on the next Latino Motion. Join us.
Choose quality, value, distinction. Choose Stockton.
Latino Motion with Bert Lopez is presented by Latino Motion Public Affairs Media, a New Jersey nonprofit corporation, and Stockton University. This edition of Latino Motion with Bert Lopez is brought to you by the HD Studios at the campus of Stockton University. Funding for Latino Motion is provided by Atlanticare, healthcare you can believe in. Atlantic City Electric, energy for a changing world. And South Jersey Gas. Welcome to Latino Motion, a weekly interview show highlighting issues impacting New Jersey's Latino community while advancing understanding of Latino cultural heritage and contributions to our society. And here is your host, Bert Lopez.
Buenos dias and welcome to Latino Motion. For many business owners and entrepreneurs, the challenges from day to day are all-consuming. However, my guest today is someone that is a foresight business strategist who dives into the trends that shape the future of companies. Her aim is to instill leaders with a desire to look into the future. Joining me is Dr. Nilda Perez. She is the founder of the Foresight Strategies Group and the Latino Academy of Business. Dr. Perez, welcome to Latino Motion.
Thank you for having me.
So tell me, what is a foresight strategist?
A foresight strategist is someone who helps businesses to be able to look into the future of their industry or other industries, things that are going to shape their business in the future. So what happens oftentimes is that we get so engrossed in growing our business or having our business that we work in our businesses and don't realize that there's a lot of changes happening. And these changes can very possibly put you out of business because trends change so quickly. So what we do is that we look at the business and we help analyze what are the trends in that industry, what are the trends outside of that industry that can impact that business and possibly, put them out of business. But more than that, and even better than that, is looking at opportunities that you are ahead of the game because you don't only look at threats, but you look at opportunities. And more than anything else, we want to, it's good to be aware of threats, but so much more important to know what are the opportunities that you have that are available to you that you can spearhead.
Now, this is specifically a challenge for minorities and Latinos. Tell me why it's so much more of a challenge for Latinos.
Oftentimes, non-Latinos are a lot more prepared for business in terms of that they've had family or they've been around business. Latinos are not usually don't have all that savvy on running a business, although they're very skilled in whatever their talent is, and that's awesome. But not necessarily do they have the same skill set in terms of running a business, in terms of looking at trends and looking at these things that can impact their business.
So tell me some of the strategies or methods, rather, that you use to analyze the business and to help them get into that trend to start looking into the future.
Okay, so one of the things that we do is that we look at, again, what are the trends in that business? So we help them look at methods that we use, such as STEEP. We look at socially, what is the social impact? What's going on socially? What is the technology that can be an opportunity for the business? What is going on in the environment? Then we look also at the economic and the political. So to give you an example, with real estate was one of those businesses that was doing really very, very well, and all of a sudden the bottom just fell out. And most real estate agents and real estate brokers were not prepared for that. But this is one of the reasons why we look at that. We look at different trends in different industries, and while the possibility for a lot of brokers, a lot of them that did look ahead saw another opportunity that was ahead, that was not necessarily selling the homes, but buying properties and being able to flip homes, and they were able to buy homes a lot cheaper. So for those that were prepared for that trend, they were able to just seamlessly go from one thing to the other.
So at what point, if you started a business, at what point do you say, I need a foresight strategist? At what point do you do that?
Well, what we do is that we work with businesses that have a level of success. So they have been successful, and we always hit that point that we go so far, and then we're kind of like stuck. And so those are the businesses that we help, because they have had success. So it's not like they haven't done anything, but they're at a point right now where they're at a crossroads where they need somebody else to come in and help them analyze, okay, so where do I go from here? How do I position myself for the future so that I could continue to having this success, and possibly what we try to help them is to have a lot more success. So a lot of our businesses have grown, 20%, 30%. So it's been significant.
You're able to guide them through the process, and then you're able to measure how successful you were, which is amazing.
Absolutely.
Let's talk about some of the things that we should be thinking. That it may be just a small business that perhaps we're not at a position where we could hire someone like you to come out and help us. But how can we get into the method of start thinking about the future and trends?
Well, again, one of the things that I think is very important is for you to understand your industry so thoroughly. So personal development, professional development, industry development, what are you doing? One of the things that I'm a lifetime student. I'm always looking for what else can I learn? What are the other components in life that I can learn, that I can add to it? So even if you're a small business, you can either read books, go to trainings, find, what are the latest things in your industry. You need to understand your industry better than anybody else. And oftentimes there was a statistic that I actually saw the other day saying that 80% of people that graduate high school never read again, and something like 70% of people that graduate college never read again. Like, if you're in business, why would you do that? Why would you not be on top of educating yourself as to what is going on in your industry? Because it's critical.
And like we mentioned from the offset, when you're an entrepreneur, a business owner, you perhaps overwhelm and consume by the day-to-day. But it's still very important to find time to carve out and get ahead by studying some of the things that are going on.
It's the lifeline of a business. I compare business a lot to health. We take very good care of our health. Well, what does that mean? We have to change lifestyles. We have to change the way we eat. We have to exercise. We have to make certain changes the older we get. And, we want to be able, there's longevity, but you can live long and live unhealthy. So it's the same premise with business. You want to have a healthy business.
And we want to delve a little more deeper into that. You also wrote a book, which we're going to talk about. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back with more Latino Motion.
Latino Motion with Bert Lopez is presented by Latino Motion Public Affairs Media, a New Jersey nonprofit corporation. Join us online at www.latinomotion.tv. Find us on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. We encourage your comments and contributions for show topics.
Welcome back to Latino Motion. I'm pleased to have Dr. Nilda Perez, founder of Foresight Strategies Group and the Latino Academy for Business. Dr. Perez, welcome back to Latino Motion.
Thank you.
Just to finish up, before we get into the book, one of the questions that I wanted to ask you is, why should business leaders or owners care about trends in other industries? So not just their own, but also in other industries as well.
Caring about what's going on in other industries is very important. One of the examples that I can give you right now is the Yellow Pages. The Yellow Pages was one of those that would monopolize literally nationwide. They monopolized the telephone directory. Well, everybody wanted to have their ad in the telephone directory, and suddenly when the Googles and the Yahoos came and search engines, Search engines put them out of business, and they had no idea because they weren't paying attention. Why? Because that wasn't their industry. So they didn't have the foresight to see how something can put them out of business. And that happens time and time again in a lot of different industries. So understanding those shifts and how those shifts can actually put a whole industry out of business.
Very good. And now I know you wrote the book, and the book is the Leadership Shift, the Strategic Positioning of Latino Business Leaders. Now, tell me a little bit about the book. What inspired you to write the book?
Well, the book came from research that I did for my dissertation, my doctoral dissertation. I started looking into Latino businesses. It was something that I did not see a lot of research on, and I decided to take that on. And as I studied, the more I researched, the more I realized that Latinos are really making a huge impact, and they're on the one hand they're making huge strides, and on the other hand they're still a little there's a backlog or a lag, I want to say. So what happens is that where they're making the strides is that Latinos are becoming business owners, they're becoming leaders. So that, to me, when I started looking at that, I wanted to dive a little deeper. And from that, the book came. From that, I started realizing that, well, we're onto something here.
So the leadership shift basically is the fact that Latinos are shifting to become leaders in business.
Yes.
All right, let's talk a little bit more about that strategic positioning of Latino business leaders.
Okay. Well, the strategic positioning is, it's great to have your own business, but how do you put a blueprint or a goal in place that will help you become a leader in that industry? What I have found is that there's so many intelligent Latinos. They're unbelievably intelligent, and they're really making strides in their companies, in their businesses. But so how do you strategically position yourself? There's a lot of detail that goes into having a strategy, having that blueprint, so that you can stand out. So that's my focus, to be able to help Latinos to do that.
And one of the things that I'm sure is trending is the fact that more and more Latinos are going on their own. Instead of working for someone else, they want to open up their own business. I remember it was a dream of my dad. He wanted to start his own business. He never did, but he always talked about it, never really did it. But I think more and more people are doing that and actually starting their own business.
Well, as of the 2010 census, it was 43.7% of new business is Latino owned. And I was fortunate enough to have a dad that he was a trendsetter, and he started a lot of businesses. He had several businesses going on at a time. And actually, my dad, the most interesting part was that he was actually a carpenter. He called himself a carpenter. Today, I think there's a different title for that. I think it's a contractor. And he did that. And what he would do is that he would find these places that were either burnt out, down, or there was nothing there. And he would actually create. And what he would do was he would stand in front of the business, and he would talk to the people that would walk by and say, hey, what do you think? Of course, this was New York City, where there's a ton of people. And he would talk to them. Hey, what do you think about, let's say, a bakery here? And, because you can get your bread and your coffee in the morning. And there was no...
He was doing his own survey.
His own survey. And
nice.
when he found enough, he would just start his own business, and he would just start a business in whatever that industry was. So he was very creative that way. What he couldn't understand is how educated I was and why I didn't have my own business. So yeah, so he started this trend. He started this leadership shift, where he was the one that started, and he positioned himself to be able to start businesses, and he would do very well, then he would sell it, and he would start something else.
Well, this is all very good information. Certainly the book, The Leadership Shift, the strategic positioning of Latino business leaders, and hopefully I will put up on the website where that book is available. Thank you for sharing all this information with our audience, and stay tuned. We'll be right back with more Latino Motion.
Latino Motion with Bert Lopez is presented by Latino Motion Public Affairs Media, a New Jersey nonprofit corporation. Join us online at www.latinomotion.tv. Find us on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. We encourage your comments and contributions for show topics.
Welcome back to Latino Motion. Joining me today is David Acosta, a newly elected councilman for the city of Vineland. He is formerly with the Casino Control Commission and has served in an array of regulatory licensing roles. David, welcome to Latino Motion.
Thank you for inviting me.
And me and you go way back, and certainly this place here where we're taping the show, Stockton University, brings some old memories for you as well. Tell me a little bit about those memories.
Yes, I was a student here back in the early 70s, and I was one of the founding members of Los Latinos Unidos. And I also happen to be one of the founding members of the radio station that is currently still on air. So to me, this is quite an honor.
Big contributions here to Stockton. I remember the Pig Roast when the Latinos Unidos would do the Pig Roast during Hispanic Heritage Month. The councilman-elect for the city of Vineland just went through a very rough election. Tell me a little bit about that.
You had an incumbent mayor, a former mayor, and a newcomer with a group of a slate of candidates that were rather new. I was part of that group, and we were very fortunate that come November we won, and now I am an elected councilman-elect.
Now, I know Vineland has had several issues over the years, and fresh blood coming in, so to speak, here, new administration coming in. Let's talk some of those issues that the Vineland is facing. Let's start with the Main Street downtown. That there's been a lot of things that have happened over the years to try to revive Main Street. Do you see that happening under your watch?
We're hoping to revitalize the avenue. We talked about the marketing strategy. It's the widest avenue in the whole state of New Jersey. It's an avenue that when an affair to attract people is well done, for example, cruise night, there's thousands and thousands of people that come to downtown Vineland. It's unfortunate that there's far too few of those occasions, and we need to expand that beyond, let's say, cruise night or those a few nights. But there is a lot of efforts going on. Hopefully the Four Corners project continues. The development of the theater is also something that hopefully it expands because that could be a jewel of the avenue.
Vineland has also lost business, but you still have the industrial park. What do you foresee in terms of business growth and economic development in the city of Vineland?
The industrial park is an area, obviously, is a big area, so someone can come in and there's land there to be had. One of the biggest advantage to the industrial park is its location. The industrial park is right off of Route 55. So obviously you can have your industry there, and you can transport and do your commerce through Route 55 into the Port of Philadelphia or Camden, or from there go south, Delaware, et cetera, or north, very easy. So there is some hope there. The question is can Vineland market itself to attract the new business, especially in the industrial park?
And hopefully you have a say in that.
Hopefully I do.
Let's talk about you as a Latino getting involved, running for council for the first time in the city of Vineland. Why is it so important to have other Latinos be engaged politically just like you have?
The municipality, the Latino population in the municipality is growing. It's probably the one segment of the population that has grown over the last 20, 30 years, and it continues to grow. And in that growth, we also have to grow politically, we have to grow business owners, we have to grow as professionals. I feel that with my experience, with my education, my studies were in political science and public administration, so this is sort of along the lines of that. I am of an age now where I think I can contribute without it being affected by employment like it used to be. So I would like to be someone that other Hispanics can say, well, if David did it, I could as well.
Is this a big shift for you, going from a regulatory environment like the Casino Control Commission to now being a councilman?
Oh, absolutely. In the regulatory business, we were sort of incognito. I mean, we could not participate in political activities. We really couldn't be out in the public because we were regulating my job specifically. I had to determine whether a person, or I was part of the process to determine whether a person was suitable to hold a license, which is a privilege to work in the casino industry, or a company. And as such, I had to, stay away from a lot of this stuff.
No more. Now you're in the forefront, and obviously you're going to continue to be in the forefront for some time to come.
It's a real shift because in the past I could easily go to ShopRite in my dirty clothes after working outside, get a gallon of milk.
Now you got to look a little more presentable.
Now people say, "Hey, congratulations on your election."
David, thank you so much for sharing this information and for getting our audience to know you a little better.
Yes.
And thank you for joining us at home once again here on Latino Motion.
Choose quality, value, distinction. Choose Stockton.
Funding for Latino Motion is provided by Atlanticare, healthcare you can believe in. Atlantic City Electric, energy for a changing world. And South Jersey Gas.